Hello everyone, and welcome to Who Created It and How. Today we're chiseling away at a monumental topic. How did ancient civilizations write in stone? We see these incredible inscriptions on temples, monuments, and artifacts, and they've lasted for thousands of years, but how did they actually do it without modern power tools? Let's carve out some answers. The art of stone inscription is as old as civilization itself. Think about it. Stone is one of the most durable materials on Earth. If you wanted to send a message that would last for eternity, stone was your best bet. From the grand hieroglyphs of ancient Egypt to the intricate cuneiform of Mesopotamia and the bold declarations on Roman triumphal arches, writing in stone was a way to make laws, stories, and legacies permanent. So what tools did they use? You can forget about laser cutters and pneumatic drills. Ancient artisans relied on a simple yet effective toolkit. The star of the show was the chisel, which came in various shapes and sizes. For harder stones like granite or basalt, these chisels were often made of even harder materials like dolerite, or later, hardened bronze, and eventually iron. Along with the chisel, they used a mallet or hammer, typically made of wood or stone, to strike the chisel with precise force. The process began with preparing the stone surface. This was a painstaking job. Workers would have to cut a large block of stone from a quarry, transport it, and then smooth the surface. They did this by rubbing the stone with abrasive materials, like sand mixed with water, or by using other grinding stones. Getting a perfectly flat and smooth canvas could take days or even weeks, depending on the size and type of stone. It was a true labor of love and patience. Once the surface was ready, the scribe or designer would step in. They wouldn't just start hammering away. First, they would outline the letters or symbols directly onto the stone, often using charcoal or a paint-like pigment. This acted as a guide for the carver, ensuring the layout was correct and the spacing was perfect. In some cases, for very complex designs, they might use a grid system to transfer a smaller drawing onto the massive stone block accurately. This is how they achieved such incredible precision and symmetry. Now for the main event. The carving. The stone carver, a highly skilled craftsman, would take their chisel and mallet and begin the delicate work. This was not about brute force. It was a rhythmic and controlled process. For shallow inscriptions, they might use a technique called incised carving, where the outlines of the letters are simply cut into the stone. The most common type you see in Egyptian hieroglyphs is a form of relief carving. There are two main types of relief. In bas relief or low relief, the figures are raised slightly from the background. The carver would carefully chip away the stone around the letters, making the letters themselves stand out. The other type is sunk relief, which was very popular in ancient Egypt, especially for exterior walls. In this technique, the artist carves the inscription into the surface, so the figures are below the level of the surrounding stone. This method was brilliant because it creates strong shadows under the harsh Egyptian sun, making the inscriptions easy to read from a distance. It also protected the carvings from erosion. Think about the skill involved. One wrong move, one slip of the chisel, and a whole section of the stone could crack or break, potentially ruining weeks of work. The carver had to understand the stone itself, its grain, its hardness, and its weak points. They would adjust the angle of their chisel and the force of their hammer blows for each specific type of stone. For example, carving soft limestone is a world away from tackling ultra-hard granite. The granite used for obelisks and statues required immense effort and even tougher tools. But what about the really detailed stuff? For finer details and sharp corners, carvers used smaller, more pointed chisels. After the main carving was done, they would often go back and polish the surfaces of the letters or figures to make them stand out even more. Sometimes these inscriptions were painted. We see them today as plain stone, but many of the hieroglyphs in Egyptian tombs or the letters on Greek temples were originally bursting with color. Over the millennia, the paint has worn away, but in protected areas, archaeologists have found traces of these vibrant pigments, giving us a glimpse of how bright and lively these monuments once were. Let's look at a few amazing examples. The Code of Hammurabi, a Babylonian legal text from around 1754 BC, is inscribed on a massive 7.5-foot tall slab of black diorite. The text is in cuneiform script, and it's carved with incredible precision. Diorite is an extremely hard stone, so imagine the time and skill it took to inscribe over 4,000 lines of text. Then there's the Rosetta Stone. It's famous for cracking the code of hieroglyphs, but it's also a masterpiece of stone carving. It's inscribed with the same decree in 3 different scripts: hieroglyphic, Demotic, and Greek. Carved in granodiorite, another tough stone, it showcases the ability of artisans to replicate complex scripts flawlessly. And we can't forget Trajan's Column in Rome. This towering monument is covered in a spiral narrative of bas-relief carvings depicting Emperor Trajan's military campaigns. It's like a comic book carved in marble, telling a story that spirals over 600 feet up into the sky. The level of detail in the scenes is breathtaking, all carved by hand with chisels and mallets. So, writing in stone was a monumental undertaking that combined artistry, engineering, and sheer physical effort. It required a deep understanding of geology, a steady hand, and an incredible amount of patience. These ancient inscriptions are not just writing, they are works of art that have literally stood the test of time, allowing us to hear the voices of the past, etched forever in stone. It's a powerful reminder that if you want to say something that lasts, maybe you should carve it in stone. Thanks for joining us on Who Created It and How. If you found this journey into the past fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. See you next time.